good. Ready when you are.
Welcome to the Beat Studies podcast. Welcome back, and I have the pleasure of welcoming Dillio to my studio. What's the Dillio?
Hey, what's going on? Doing good?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you making the trip into Grand Park to kick it with us for a minute here.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Tell me about your life. We don't know each other that well. We met at this BeatStars meetup. Kicked
Right.
it for a minute, but what's your favorite part about life right now?
The favorite part about life right now is the possibilities. I work that day job hustle, while still fighting for the dream at night, so it's take care of the bills during the day, go home and see what I can do to turn my talents into the thing that pays the bills, so I think the best part about life right now is still having the possibility for things to change and pursuing those possibilities. Absolutely. So I think that's probably what I would call it.
Yeah, that's huge. You've done a lot over the past 10 years to nurture those talents and broaden the possibilities. A lot of effort's gone into getting to this level, but there's still a long ways to go.
Right.
Tell our listeners a little bit about your journey in that regard.
My journey, it's been a long, winding journey. It started off in Flint, Michigan.
Michigan, represent. I'm from Jackson.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. It started off in Michigan. Definitely had a lot of musicians in my family, but there wasn't really, and there's like an industry there, but it wasn't really quite one I had access to, being at the age I was, and a lot of the, like Ready for the World was there. So there are a lot of acts there that were kind of there before me, and I was still kind of like this kid coming up, but I was starting to build up my own thing. And so, and then it took me down to Full Sail in Orlando, Florida. Went to school there, studied there, and then...
Was that helpful?
It was very helpful because it just took what I was already doing naturally and just enhanced it.
Yeah.
And then after that I moved to Atlanta, started a career as a sound engineer, and I was making sound at some large churches here and there. But music production and making tracks was always the original thread. So after doing like sound engineering for like 12 years, with different churches, different gigs, I was like, okay, I want to kind of take a break from that and focus more on being a music producer. Because a lot of times in my journey, when you're trying to show up as a music producer and you're known as the engineer, well, that's great you do all that. That's great you can play. That's great you can make tracks, but we need you to fix our microphone right now. So it was that kind of lifestyle, and that was my path. Now, I've heard of other paths where people say, yeah, I was an engineer and then I pitched my track. I get that, but for me, it wasn't really quite my thing. So yeah. That's a very abbreviated storyline of my journey, but it's been a winding one. It's been peaks and valleys, but I think I'm definitely more seasoned for it now.
When did you get your first moment? Like, I don't know, say an artist is feeling your beat or you beat battle. Was there a particular tipping point for you where you're like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this?
Well, I'll give you two. I think like I can't remember quite the year, 2011, 2013, I won my first beat battle.
All right. But here in Atlanta.
And, but the biggest highlight was getting the placement with Crazy Bone. This was in 2004, and it was shortly after I left Full Sail. I didn't really leave Orlando how I wanted to, kind of very fast, because I didn't know how quite to live on my own as I do now then. This is 2003. This is fresh out of college, you know. So if my support system pulled the plug, I had to go. I didn't quite know how to catch myself from them. So I was going through that valley experience, but at the same time I was around enough people, and I was around the right people to say, hey, here's the CDs on my tracks. Mm-hmm. I remember that winter hearing like, yeah, they're going to use the track, and then I got that placement. And I remember walking to music stores and seeing my name on the back of a plastic CD cover, Crazy Bone. Wow. And I was like, that's it. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to keep doing it. The challenge for me because I thought the life was going to change after that.
Sure. Oh, I made it.
Yeah. I thought the life was going to change, all these, and that didn't quite happen. Yeah. That didn't quite happen, but just because that didn't happen how I wanted to, didn't mean I gave up on it.
Well, in a lot of ways, that was just the beginning of the real grind, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was just the beginning.
Did you have your website up and all that yet at this point?
At that point, no. It was all about, websites for independent artists at that time wasn't made known to be as important as they are now. You know,
Yeah. What was it? Maybe you had a MySpace page or
might have
something.
had a MySpace page. Yahoo Mail was on top.
Yeah,
You know, this
right.
is pre-YouTube. This is pre-Twitter era. MySpace. You
Yeah.
know, so 2004 it
But
wasn't
you had
quite.
your beat CD with you, ready to hand off at any moment.
Absolutely, the beat CD was ready, but then again, it was about starting over from scratch. Because when I moved from Orlando to Atlanta, it was about meeting people all over again. And you know, the interesting thing was that there's a lot of people here doing music, and there's a lot of people that you think can get you to the next step that don't quite, you know. And so that's part of the peaks and valleys, you know. And I think that for me, I had to learn that everybody's the same, and that if that person or if that partnership doesn't pan out to anything, that doesn't mean that you should shut it down, but try to keep meeting more people until you meet the right people, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my learning experience.
Have you established a kind of a tribe or a crew here in Atlanta that you can trust and work with?
They've come and they've gone.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the band when I first came here. Most of those band members have grown up. I've grown up with them, but most of them are in families now.
Yeah.
So they're not quite hitting the streets, which I get it. They got, you know, they doing big boy stuff. So, you know, they got the standard day job. They're taking care of a lot of great stuff. Me, I'm still, that's cool, but I wanted to be the producer.
You're committed to it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm committed to it. So, you know, and then like even when in Orlando, we had a crew. Especially it's really interesting when you're young because you have these crews and everybody's like, yeah, we're a crew. And then life comes along.
Right.
You know, and then everybody kind of goes their own way. And I don't think it's anything bad about it, but it's like, you know, I think that's just part of the process. So in the meantime, I think I'm formulating and meeting more people to create new crews or micro crews. Like I think I got a micro crew where I can get with this group and hang out and we do this, and I got a micro crew where I get with these people and I do that.
Yeah.
And so it's always constantly evolving because everything's so modular now.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be you can collab with anybody
Right.
anywhere now.
Exactly. And that kind of brings a great point because I just did a beat with this artist that was based in Japan
Whoa.
who found my track on my BeatStars page.
Nice.
And boom, you know, she bought the exclusive, and now I'm seeing clips of her singing at clubs in Japan with the beat I produced.
That's so sick.
What the heck, you know? And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I didn't think. Sometimes I guess you need to be reminded of that happening, especially if you go through a season in your life where not too many things are clicking, you know. And so that was great. And then some other people was getting tracks, and I was like, oh wow, oh yeah. Let me see if I can cultivate this again. Maybe do it a little bit different, more smarter this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you're taking a pretty strategic approach, but it's not like you were born with that knowledge. You had to really seek out some marketing information in the process.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into that a little bit deeper, but first I want to hear some of your music.
Okay,
man. So
yeah, let's do it.
Let's take a listen to "Rainy Night in Georgia," beat by Dillio.
Yeah.
Like those little stutters.
Yeah. It's kind of my first attempts in the lo-fi.
Yeah. Oh shit, this is nice shit.
Yeah.
So you waited to there. Drop
Yeah, that's the thing. I think most time bass is like, oh, let's do it all at the beginning.
Yeah.
What I noticed, a lot of stuff like that, on that vibe, and that alternative R&B or that lo-fi,
Yeah.
they wait
Yeah.
and
Take it
then
to another level.
give it to you.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open up the mics again.
Okay.
And, discuss just that.
Okay.
I love that chilled out lo-fi
Oh, yeah.
down tempo. I can listen to that for days.
Nice,
you
man.
know? Tell me a little bit about your arrangement on this. I noticed you waited a minute to drop the subs.
Yeah.
Was that a strategic move? What was your thinking behind
I
that?
think that's a strategic move. I think that with today's music, I think that dropping that low end sub line later on instead of the beginning, definitely for me triggers more emotion from the track. You know, I think that if you in a song like that, or you're going for that vibe, that lo-fi vibe, I think that dropping the bass in the beginning is like almost playing your whole hand first. You don't want to show your whole hand, so you want to wait till a little bit to like maybe the next verse or the next hook comes in, then dropping a low end on that. You know,
Yeah.
and like I said, it's so easy, and like it's been typical for me. Like, yeah, let's hit them all with everything in the beginning. But this time I wanted to kind of let it evolve on its own and reveal that. It's almost like trying to get to another scene in a movie. You know,
Right.
you don't want to. You got one set that you shoot this one part, and then let me show you another set to keep things interesting. Yeah.
Well, then there's a great feeling as a listener too when the song goes up another level. You
Yeah.
know? It almost recaptures your attention. And,
Yeah.
And I'm sure that any vocalist performing over that might take it as a cue to
Mm-hmm.
switch up their flow or
Absolutely.
something. You know.
Yeah.
We were talking about that whole pain in the ass, if you will, of marketing yourself, and
Yeah.
especially in the saturated market where there's
Mm-hmm.
billions of beats out there
Yeah,
and music
absolutely.
everywhere you turn.
Yeah.
But you've taken some classes, you've really
Mhm.
dedicated yourself to getting on the right course.
Yeah.
Speak to our listeners a little bit about how you came to where you are now in that regard.
You know, there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of trying things again, and there's also a lot of studying too. Like I said, for me, like I love making music. That's what came naturally. But the marketing did not come naturally to me. That is not something that wasn't a talent I was born with in regards of promoting beats and promoting music. Because,
Some people are born hustlers and can just talk the talk for days.
Yeah, so in order to adapt, I had to study and I had to review, study some more, review, and sometimes it got frustrating and I just want to put it down. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to learn this. I'll pick it back up. And I wrestle it. Now I know more about marketing. I know more about mailing lists. I know more about Facebook ads. I know more about pixels and Google Analytics and all this other stuff. That's important when you're trying to gather an audience online, you know, and it's a whole different thing from the bricks and mortar style or the traditional side of hitting the streets, you know. And, you know, and I think that what helped me out the most was being patient with myself and not beating myself up if I don't get it the first time.
Yeah.
And allowing myself to make mistakes and make a lot of mistakes until you start hitting something on the head and it's like, okay, yeah, I can do that, and you stick with that.
What was your first source of info? Where did you go? Did you sign up for an online course or buy a book?
For the most part, when it came to marketing, of course, you know, in this era, everybody just goes to YouTube first,
Sure.
right?
Have you ever paid for a service?
Yeah, I've bought courses, mentorships, you know what I'm saying? Some better than others. I think that for me, I wasn't afraid to lose money, and this is my analogy. Like if I could pay $60 for a video game that, like say, that I bought back when Xbox 360 was popping, I can pay $60 to get that Call of Duty. I could pay $60 for a course.
Yeah.
And it is a gamble because everybody sells the world when they're talking about courses and sell beats online. Everybody sells that, and you don't know if the way that person puts things is the way you can understand it for you to manifest things the way you need to. You understand what I'm saying?
Do they speak to you?
Right, does it speak to you? And that's part of the risk, but I would rather risk investing in a course then and nothing against gaming because I game, but I'd rather risk the money trying out the course and seeing if it helps me or not than buying a piece of entertainment that I'll enjoy for a few years until it gets obsolete again. Because like I said, I always compare it to video games because I spend a lot of money on video games over the years. Like during that whole era growing up, I'm buying video games.
The latest Madden and everything.
The latest Call of Duty, the latest Halo, right?
Yeah.
All this hardware, $400 hardware, and we're spending money on this. And where's that now? Well, it's sitting in a bin right now. It's not even hooked up to the TV.
Right.
And so now at this age and at this time, it's like, well, why don't I try this out and get a course? And some courses have gave me information to start selling stuff online. Like I've made presets that I sell online because I found a course that taught me about a platform to do that with.
Nice.
What
course was that?
It was a course, I'm trying to remember, it was a while ago, but it was the automatic music selling machine course. And it taught me about a platform that I could put my materials on there that will handle the transactions and deliver the product after they paid for it. And I spent like 2 years trying to learn how to do that. And it was frustrating because I would look at videos, but the videos themselves was always a sales funnel into another thing. You go to this, oh yeah, we'll teach you how to do this.
Dangling that info carrot.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then I finally found the right course that helped me out. But before that, I was like, and it was frustrating because my circle of friends isn't trying to sell anything online. My circle of friends isn't trying to market. So every time I ask, hey, do you know how to sell? I don't know. I don't know. So I had to turn to some courses.
Yeah.
And it was a digging. I had to dig the dirt, and I have to say now, I had to dig the dirt to find the nuggets to finally get that. And it's interesting, even in books. Like I started reading more books and more audio books now. And what I've learned about all that stuff is that the whole book isn't going to have the nuggets that'll change your life, but if you go through that book or that course, you'll find a nugget, and that nugget can be the very thing that helps you get to the next level and it can change your life.
Have you ever gone through the experience where you bought a course or a learning product and it just didn't deliver and like it sucked and you like regretted making the purchase, or have they all served some kind of value?
I think in the beginning, yes. Yes, I think
there's stinkers out there.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a few stinkers out there. And in the beginning, and it's like, you don't know. You don't know. And who is there to hold your hand to guide you and say, hey, don't get that course, man. I've seen that course before. We're already in a world where not everybody's doing the same thing. So sometimes it takes that risk. But like I said, if I could take a risk on a video game,
sure,
I could take a risk on a course. And I, so... Yeah, definitely. It was like okay, this isn't what I was looking for, stuff like that. But I know now.
And now that you're getting to this level of knowledge and trying to make a career out of music, is being an educator yourself something you ever entertained?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done education before. I actually, I've released courses myself.
Okay.
To help others. I definitely see that. But at the same time, if it came to the marketing of music and stuff like that, once I am generating a decent amount of profit from, then I'll start to find myself and say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to teach this to someone else.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be figuring it out and then teaching a course on something I haven't quite mastered yet. I don't think it's fair to a customer of mine, because that's not how I would want to be treated if I was looking at someone to teach me how to do
You want an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably feel more comfortable about teaching somebody how to make a beat right
now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How to make beats, I could teach that all day, and how to sound design, I could teach that all
Right.
day. But selling beats online, I'm in the trenches now.
Yeah.
Figuring this thing out, and this is me trying it again after trying it so many times and not sticking with it. But with the knowledge I have now, I have more wisdom and I have more strength to stick with something that may not turn out something so fast that I would have expected in the past.
And after this period of learning, what is the essence of all this knowledge that you keep in the forefront of your mind as you go through the steps day in and day out to further the cause? What's the main motivational affirmation you tell yourself?
All things are possible. All things are possible. I believe in myself, and I think the main thing is it's like, because I figured out other issues. I've learned how to fix a car because I had a car that didn't work well. I've learned how to save money by working jobs that didn't pay much, And I think that maybe learning how to market can come from not knowing. Like I said, I think the blueprint of knowing what not to do is being laid out for me now, and the payoff of coming later on will be the record, will provide the context I need to know what to do and what not to do. So I think those are the main essence things. And I think the main core, I think it's still coming to me, you know. I think it's still growing in that aspect.
Never stop learning, man, you know.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
really it. Keep feeding the brain and carving new neural pathways, and you know, it's nothing but good for the spirit and everything, you know.
Yeah.
Let's dive into some more music. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's see. I can always edit this.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, all right. Back to LA.
Yeah. Channel's cut all the way down, I think. It's a hot channel. It's a hot track too. It's loud.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is more of a West Coast.
Yeah. Okay. You brought a kind of a gamut of different styles.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's got vocals.
Yeah, this is one of my rapping songs.
Is that your voice?
Yeah.
Sun is shining bright. Try to see the one and out as they travel by. The hands on the walking by. Tell me how we seen her. Speaking Espanol, asesina una chica. While it's to the matter, let me holla at ya. While I'm chilling, I'm
like that. Yeah.
I'm Tom Boxing right here.
Physical dog box? Yep. Can't beat that.
like I was Dr. Dre. Making hits every single day. Easy, easy, sweet, targeted WA. Making moves like artists, rocking better days. DJ Quick bass, was so sophisticated. Tell me what you do, tell me how you used to get it. Tell me how you struggle, tell me how you used to make it. I wanna put myself on the crowd, it's for the taking. Yeah. I need to know, I really need to know. I'm back home, get up, let's go. I need to know, I really need to know. I got some work to do, figure out my way back. I'm in my studio, checking on my playback. Cause I'm working hard to get nines and Cadillacs. Tell folks and Alpharetta, where the hell am I? I gotta find a way to see how I play out. Didn't say you stay out, cause they know I'ma show out. Ha! This video was no doubt. Get about the rap race, it's time for me to break out. Nah. I need to know, I really need to know. I'm back home, get up, let's go. I need to know, I really need to know. I'm back home, get up, let's go. I need to know, I really need to know. I'm back home, get up, let's go. I need to know, I really need to know. I'm back home, get up, let's go.
That's so good.
Thanks, man.
Back to LA with
Yeah.
Dillio, man. That is so nostalgic. I love the voice box on that shit.
Yeah.
That was an actual physical tube in the mouth type.
Yeah, tube in the mouth, talk box with a Moog as the the synthesizer source.
Man, love it. Have you been a big fan of the West Coast scene over your hip hop years?
Yeah, I've been a big fan, and I've always kind of a big fan. And what really brought it home to me was my first time being out in LA as an adult.
Yeah.
2016, 2017, I was out there for the Taxi Music Conference.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just a whole different vibe when I was out there, and I was like, wow, and that's what back to LA is about. I wrote it after my second time being out there, because like, man, I want to get back there. I want to get back here and experience LA some more.
Anybody that's been there can relate.
Yeah, it's a whole different vibe, man.
Yeah, totally. I wanted to get into the importance of building a catalog. So many producers start beats, never finish them. They end up on their drive. They don't have much to show.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's become a numbers game. I mean, some
Yeah.
people get caught up nitpicking the quality of their beats and become married to them.
Yeah.
But from your experience, is it more important to get a robust catalog than it is to have the perfect mix?
I think so. I think it's more important to have a catalog, because the perfect mix is subjective. There's some people that say you can have the best people mix it and still someone else come along behind it and say, oh, that's not it. And I'm guilty of that, man. I have been making tracks for years, and I'll kind of have the tracks, I don't have these beats made, but they're kind of off for me. And if someone comes along that I like, maybe, and I had to. That's where learning comes in.
Sure.
And I had to study. I was studying different courses, and I studied different people, and I'm studying what producers are doing. And one thing that came out was like, you need to have a catalog for artists. You need to have a catalog for these singers, so that whenever someone comes along, you don't have to think twice about, okay, do I have a track I want them? No, here's a catalog of 20 tracks which I'm building, and I think it's more important to have a catalog, and I think it changes the game. It makes you better prepared to do business, to monetize the beats when you have a catalog built up, instead of having a bunch of stuff on your hard drive that you kind of mentally keep track of in your brain, and then it's like, and then you make the accident of letting somebody hear something that you really like for yourself, and so I'd rather just make a bunch of stuff that is at the quality level that I would use for myself, but it's dedicated for other artists, so that I can do business and be that producer. So I think catalog over, if we're going to be binary about it, I'll say catalog over quantity any day, because
over quality.
Yeah, because I think quality is so relative, especially in today's age of music. So I say let's focus on the catalog.
Yeah.
And network that and shop that more.
And you're gonna get better the more you do it. If you're in the mindset of cranking them out, you're gonna gradually get better.
Yeah. But I think one of the big mistakes I was making for a very long time, just not having that dedicated catalog that is purposed for other artists.
Yeah. One of my favorite expressions is chance favors the prepared mind. And
Yeah.
these opportunities, you never know when they might hit.
Exactly.
So if you've got your catalog on point and it's one URL away,
Yeah.
you have a much better chance of hitting.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to, and that's kind of been my thing. And then the other time is like I'll run into artists and I'm trying to custom make tracks.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times those artists aren't prepared to voice out what they want. And so you're kind of shooting in the dark, and you're doing all this work trying to shoot in the dark for this artist that doesn't really know how to help you produce a track.
Right.
And that turned me off and made me stop, because I was
You don't do that anymore?
I don't really do that anymore, only because, like, unless I guess if they're here in person, I can work with that. But if they're like on a Skype session or something like that, it just turns to a really big pain. So that made me stop doing stuff, because I don't think a lot of artists, or the artists I work with, have the experience level to convey that. So for me, I'd rather just have a catalog made of stuff ready to go. Yep. And if they want me to custom make them a track, well then I'm going to tell me what you want. I'm going to go over here and make it, and I'm going to pitch it back to you. And if you don't want that track, I got a business plan for that. I'm going to put it in my catalog, because somebody else is probably going to want it.
Sure.
No,
that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
Maybe give them a certain finite amount of revisions.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. If you're dealing with someone on Skype, and you'll keep revising. Now you're negotiating. Okay, well, this is costing me time. So how much are you going to charge for this time and all? And it just gets really messy. So I would rather just have a catalog where they can see what they want, and knock it out and go from there and just make it more simpler. And that way I don't get burned out and just say, screw it all, I'm not doing tracks with anyone else anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
In building that catalog, let's discuss your process. I know you use lots of different DAWs and gear and outboard synths and drum machines.
Yeah.
So you say I got 4 hours to dedicate to making a beat.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach that?
So I would approach it this way. If it was for, first of all, as I got to make a decide, am I making something for myself or am I making something that for the artist want to use? That's first. If it's something for artists, then I come up with a concept. Do I want this to be an R&B track? Do I want this to be a trap beat? Do I want this song to sound like something I heard on the radio? I start that process.
Mm-hmm.
Then I pretty much come up with a groove. After you come up with the groove, then you arrange the song. Because you're thinking, okay, this is for artists. And now you want to create parts of the song that the artist can tell is a hook, and that's the verse, and that's the breakdown, and the beginning and the end, right?
Okay.
So you expand that. Now, since I'm selling beats online, now it's like, okay, let me make a tagged MP3 version, let me make an untagged WAV version, and let me do the stems.
Yeah.
And then after that, now I want to design artwork for this, so that when they see it online, they can see a nice little picture for it, and it helps them kind of gravitate and remember what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
Because they might not want to make a decision the first time they hear it.
Right.
They may come back to a lot of shoppers like that, even myself. Like I'll take 10 trips to Guitar Center before I buy a synthesizer. So you got artwork, you got stems, MP3 WAV file,
Working title, that's always a factor.
yeah, working title, and then upload it, and that's pretty much the process right there. And then if you want to promote it more, then okay, let's make a beat video. Let's or send an update to your mailing list.
Yeah.
Or tweet about it, or and there's so many more ways, but it kind of can keep going and going and going. But I think those basic things are some things that really help you get through the process, and then you repeat.
Right. Well, you're showing a lot of diversity with the beats we've heard so far.
Mm-hmm.
Have you also defined a Dillio sound, like a signature kit that you keep exclusive to you, and
Right.
like it's clear you're good at emulating and diverse in your portfolio. But what defines your unique production?
My unique production, I guess there's certain sounds that I made on my own
Uh-huh.
that I only use for my stuff, for my records and stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's how I get a sound. And see, my sound is very diverse, and it's hard for people to kind of pin me as a type of artist because I have more fun trying out a hip hop track, and then I'll do a country song, I'll do a pop song,
Sure.
and that's Dillio. Dillio will do a gospel song and then sing about heartbreak the next song right after.
Right.
And that's my thing for my sound. So my sound, it does have a certain vibe. There's certain sounds that I use, or certain effects that I use just for me, and then I still have a certain. Then I'll have something just as fun and interesting for other artists.
Yeah. Right.
So that way I still kind of have that reserve for myself, but at the same time, having a business mind to serve a product for a client to help achieve a certain result.
And when you're releasing these, do you package them by genres, or would that chill out beat be in the same pack or release as the West Coast beat, or
Right.
Do you create them in groups?
I think that for me, like the last album I did, the album was more of a nod to the past.
Okay.
So I'm doing West Coast, Dr. Dre, so that's 90s.
Yeah.
Era, early 2000s, and then I do an R&B song that features a lot of 808, but not today's 808, but the original 808s style.
The Roland,
that style where it wasn't dressed up and as processed as it is now.
Right.
So 90s R&B,
Okay.
Like a Sade or a Boyz II Men type of vibe, or Ready for the World type of vibe and stuff like that. And I'll do a lot of songs in that model, and then I'll do some a little more modern and contemporary inside of that.
Okay.
But I would.
So they're not packaged like this is my chill out.
No.
Okay.
But I sometimes I think about doing it that way for marketing purposes. Like I want to do like a trap soul album, and because sometimes I think it might be easier to market that way. Because I think that if you go too far, I guess it can throw people off. But then again, it's still an experiment, and maybe I could be right, maybe I could be wrong. I don't know.
You cast a wide net, man. You know, people in Japan wanting to get on your stuff. you
Yeah,
know? The
yeah.
net can be wide based on who you're reaching and
Absolutely.
the types that you're putting out, you know.
Yeah,
And maybe that in itself defines your style.
Yeah.
Who do you really look up to and admire in terms of influencers in this game?
It starts back with Enigma, Deep Forest. See, I was a kid in high school that didn't listen to hip hop. Like I knew about hip hop, I grew up on it, but I had a cousin that had diverse music tastes, and he put me on to artists like Deep Forest and Sacred Spirits and Enigma.
Okay.
And so, because he was more of a classical player,
Yeah.
you know,
And
and
more
so,
complex.
yeah. So I had those going on, but I grew up around the hip hop. So my goal was always to kind of figure out ways to combine the ambient new age music of the late '90s
Uh-huh.
with the hip hop and the hard hitting R&B of the late '90s, and find some way to mix that two together. And I think that's what my style is,
Okay.
because I grew up listening, but at the same time I was a video game kid that loved video game music, so that had a thread
Mm-hmm.
in my DNA,
Sure.
you know, and so all that, so influences, I would say like Enigma, Deep Forest, Sacred Spirits, and we branch over to Timbaland, which is probably the first producer that I paid attention to. Of course, I was still being influenced by Dr. Dre, Teddy Riley, and all that stuff, but I didn't know them by name as producers at the time. I'm a kid
Right.
still, and there's nobody around to say, hey, do you know who that producer is? Nobody there was telling me
What I'm
that.
talking about.
So, but I still soaked in the music. I still soaked in the sonics
Yeah.
without the names of or faces behind it.
Right.
You know, but then after a while, I was like, okay, this is Timbaland. Okay.
Mhm.
And I grew from there.
Then you can recognize their beats.
Their sound and their
Yeah.
style, and then, you know, Pharrell and Chad Hugo with the Neptunes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then early Lil Jon, early Kanye West, you know.
Yeah.
Those was definitely some influences.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for being here. Make
Absolutely.
sure you go to Dillio T2K,
Yeah,
right?
DillioT2K.com.
Yeah, and check out some of these more tracks. We're gonna listen to one more before we, as we ride it out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to remind my listeners, I never take the time to do this. Go ahead and review the podcast. You know,
Absolutely.
give it some feedback. We really appreciate it. Subscribe. Share it with a producer or somebody you know who might benefit from this knowledge. This knowledge is meant to be shared and grow the culture as a whole. So take that extra minute, you know, to
Absolutely.
just spread the love, because you know, we're taking our time to spread it to you, and I sure appreciate you sharing your knowledge with our
Absolutely.
audience today.
No problem.
And as we roll out of this podcast, here's Dillio with Everything I Touch Turns to Gold.
Yeah. I thought that was the full song I recorded, but it's just, that's cool.
Oh, with the vocals and everything?
Yeah. No. I was like,
Oh, you gotta
yeah.
send it. It's easy for me to swap it out.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Yeah, I'll send it. I'll be able to find it easier once I get home.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool, yeah, man.
Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see y'all later.